Hello and welcome to this video. This I believe is the fourth one in our basic introduction to SketchUp for schools, and if you're following this along for my class, then you'll be looking at creating a rebate joint, modeling that here in this video as the next project that we're doing for class. Now, unlike previous videos, I'm not going to start with a blank project this time because I'd like to demonstrate some new ideas. You certainly could start with a blank project, but again, I want to talk about how we can work smarter, not harder. So if I think about this project, and again, you probably have spoken about it a bit in class with me already, then I know that my basic pieces are the same as the butt joint. They are the same 100mm long by 40mm wide by 19mm thick that I've already modeled here in my butt joint. All I'm going to be doing, instead of using a butt joint like this, I'm going to create the rebate so that it'll cut out here, that this top piece is instead going to sit inside. So to save myself a bit of work, I'm going to start by using this file. Now I'm not going to actually edit this one because I want to keep my butt joints file saved so I can show that to my teacher again or someone else if I need to. So what I'm going to do now is jump back to my home, so 3 bars, and go to home, obviously saving again if I need to. Purging is always fine in our class. And instead of starting a new one, I'm going to find my butt joint, here it is, and I'm going to use the 3 dots menu here and choose to duplicate it. So if I choose to duplicate that file, you can see it's making a duplicate right next to it, and it's just going to put a number 1 or a number 2 or 3, etc. on however many times you duplicate. I'm also going to go back to my 3 dots again, and I'm going to rename it here. I could open it and rename it there, but I may as well fix it here. So I'm going to keep the same name convention, last name, first name, and now I'm going to instead call this rebate joint. Just like that, press OK, and give it a moment. Sorry, I've already got one because I've done this in class. I'll call it rebate joint 1, that's fine. For you guys, sorry, you might need to fix that, so rebate joint, I'll just call it 1, that's okay. No, I've already got a 1, it's telling me this error is telling me I've already got a 1, so let's call it 2. No, we've already got 2, 3, you know what, let's call it 10. Surely we don't have a 10 already. That'll do. So obviously that's an issue for me, having done this so many times. I've got multiple files, so I've just had to add a number on the end. Hopefully you don't have to. Alright, let's click on that now to open that particular project. So again, it should look exactly the same as what we had for the butt joint, but of course we now have a new name up the top, and everything we do is now in a separate file. Okay, let's talk about what we need to modify. So first of all, I'm going to choose the top piece. Again, selection tool, click on it. Now I'm going to use my move tool. I'm just going to push it out of the way because I'm not modifying this piece. I just want to put it out of the way so I can focus on this piece here. Okay. Let's now use our selection tool and click on that. We want to modify this piece, but remember early on we turned this into a component, and we know that because when we click on it, look, everything is selected. So to actually edit it, I need to double click on it, and notice it's now sort of opened up. It's got dotted lines around saying, hey, everything inside the dotted lines is what editing, and anything else like the piece over here has sort of grayed out a little bit because everything we do is only now affecting this piece. I'm going to zoom in a bit closer because I really just want to focus on this part here. Because what I want to do now is draw a rectangle that represents the end, if you like, here, that is going to fit in. Okay, and again, I'm using my scroll wheel to be able to move around so easily. And again, if you haven't got a mouse yet, I really do encourage them if it's at all possible. So I know that the end of my piece of wood is going to be 40mm across, just like this. I know that it's going to be 19mm thick, so that's going to be my vertical measurement here. And what I teach in class, at least at this stage, is that when we do any type of rebate joint, we go halfway. So we go half of this thickness. So we also know from previous that this thickness is 19mm. So to go half of that, of course, is going to be 9.5. Okay, so I'm going to end up drawing a box here that's 40mm across, 19mm down, and then I'm going to push that box in 9.5mm to create my rebate, the missing piece. So let's have a look at a few ways to do that. Number one, I could take my box tool that I'm familiar with. I might start from, say, this corner here, and I might draw it across to the far side, making sure it locks on. Again, I don't care how big, so I could draw it really massive if I wanted to. The main thing I'm worried about is it's the right width across because it's locking onto this side, and I've done some distance down in this case to get a rough shape. And just like we learned previously, we're going to let go of our mouse. We're not going to click on anything else. We're going to look down to our bottom right and put the dimensions in. So we can see if we look at that dimensions box down in the bottom right, that it's telling us that we're currently drawn 40 and approximately 16.2. Because the one across the 40 is correct, so let's put that one back in. And we know that the height needs to be 19. So instead of the 16.2 or whatever random value you got, let's again put our 19 in, press our enter button or return button, and you can see again that that has been drawn to the right size now. If I then go and get my push-pull tool, what you'll notice is that this is now divided into two pieces. There's this part here, and because there's a line cutting across there, this is a separate piece. So we can affect these individually. So if I come up here and I click on that one and push it in a bit, you can see I'm only affecting the top, not the bottom. So let's push it in some amount. And just like before, once we push it in some amount, let's let go of the button and just type the measurement in. So we want to go in by 9.5 millimeters. So let's type that in, 9.5. Oops, it looks like I must have clicked by accident, so let me undo that. Try that again. So undo what I just did. Take my push-pull tool, and push it in. Make sure I don't click anywhere like I must have done before, and type in 9.5. You can see it coming down the bottom there now. Press enter, and it's adjusted accordingly. And now what we're going to do is take our selection tool and basically click anywhere outside of this component. And we can see if we rotate a bit round, we can see that we have a nice rebate ready for this piece to come and join in. But there's something I want you to look at. If I come out a bit further, look what's happened to the other piece, the copy of it. This is one problem with a component, but it can also be very, very powerful if you need to do the same thing on multiple pieces. Because these are components and it was a direct copy or a duplicate of it. Whatever we do to this piece is happening exactly to the other piece. So remember, we did rotate, so if we rotated this up, it would look the same. So when we change this, we also change that. In this case, it's not what we want. So unfortunately, we're going to undo everything we just did. I'm just doing Control-Z on mine because I'm on Windows. It might be Command-Z on yours, or you can use, again, the options up the top. Okay, how do we fix this? How do we work smarter? Because what we started with is the best way to do this. What we're going to do first is take this piece, select it, and we're going to make it unique. We're going to make its own individual piece that is not a copy, if you like, of this one over here. To do that, we right-click again, and under the component option, we now have Make Unique. And by clicking on that, doesn't really look like anything's changed, except for this component is not a copy of this one anymore. So if I do something to one of them, it's no longer going to happen to the other. So we've still got all the power of components, but also the options to edit them individually. There are some other ways, of course, you could do something similar, especially at this basic level, but let's stick with these ideas of components and now unique components. So let's do exactly the same idea, but I'm going to show you a different way. And in fact, this is a quicker way for this particular process. So just like before, I'm going to double click on it to edit the component. I'm still going to zoom in and rotate a bit to get a better angle, a better view. But what I want to think about now is, what is my purpose? My purpose is basically to draw a line across here that is 19 millimeters from the top. I don't need to worry about the width because we know this is the whole piece. I really just need this line that goes across there. Okay, so a quick way to do that, just to get a line a certain distance from an end, for example, is by using a combination of our tape measure and our pencil. And again, while it's going to take longer to explain now than it actually takes to really do, let's have a look at it. So I take my tape measure and I come along to this edge. Right, if I click anywhere on that edge, hold it and make sure I pull down and stay on the red. Notice the line coming down is red because I'm staying on the red axis. I'm going to create what I call a construction line. It's a dotted line, something that you rub out later on. And just like everything else, I can pull that down any amount, let go, and type the distance. Now I want that to be 19 millimeters. So let's just type the 19 in. Press enter or return, and we now have a line on this surface that is 19 millimeters straight down. We can't push-pull that yet because it's not separated. It's not cutting it through. It's a dotted line. But that now gives us points that we can join together. So I can take my pencil and I can lock to that point where this line down the side and the dotted line join, lock to it, an intersection is called, and I can draw straight across to lock to that one. That now has created two parts. So now that we've got those two parts, I can take that top part, push it in. We know when to go halfway, which is 9.5. Press enter, and there we go. We've ended up in the same position as we did by drawing a box, but that line was a little bit easier to draw. You may feel it wasn't, and that is entirely up to you. Both methods are perfectly valid, and there are other methods, of course, that might be useful. But the idea of drawing these construction lines as a measuring point is really, really powerful, because later on, if you need to do something, say, in the middle of the work, it's much easier to find edges and things like that than it is to draw random boxes. So the only thing really left is to clean up a little bit. So we've got this dotted line we don't want, and let's quickly introduce our rubber. So the rubber's up the top here, and I can just rub over the line. You can see it got highlighted. When I let go of my mouse, it's disappeared. Be careful not to rub over parts of your model because, again, you can easily break it. Let me just press undo. But that's why rubbing out your construction lines far away from your model, because they sort of go infinitely, is a good way to do it. Take your selection tool, click elsewhere, and you can see again if I zoom out, because we made this unique, nothing's happened to this one. All right. Final step, whichever way you decide to do it, is like before, move this piece over here, but now this corner is going to lock down in here, not on the top where it used to with the butt joint, but it's going to lock down here. So same idea, let's choose this one, so that's what we're going to move. Let's use our movement tool. Let's grab it from that corner and try and bring it across. And there you go, I've just locked it in place. And now I have a properly connected and drawn rebate joint using the same materials. Now, again, as I've shown in my other videos, obviously the 13.5+ minutes so far I've used to demonstrate this is not how long this task would take once you are quite familiar with the program. I'm not going to do the whole thing again here like I have done in others. Just trust me when I say that if you weren't sitting here trying to explain every step in a video, that you would actually be able to draw this in just a couple of minutes maximum, even using all the steps that we've demonstrated. So as always, go back and watch, rewind, etc. until you're comfortable with these steps. And at this point, you have all the main skills and tools that you need to create a full project. And I'm going to do a quick video later to demonstrate one such project that I usually give as a bit of a challenge in my classes that you also may like to model. It's going to be sort of one of those videos where I'll demonstrate a few things and then essentially say pause it, see if you can do it yourself, and then I'll demonstrate the final process later on. But there you go, that is how we can create a modeled rebate joint, starting from a model that we actually already have. And I'll just save it as well to make sure I don't lose anything before I finish this video.